It is just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Claire Jeong, MS, BS, RDH, and her sister, Dr. Delphine Jeong, and I'm podcast interviewing you all the way from Canada, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, right now we are in Vancouver.
And that has got to be the coolest city. And I always say there's only two amazing must-see cities in North America, and that's Vancouver, British Columbia, and San Fran. I mean, most people don't realize that it's actually a rainforest.
Yeah, a lot of rainforest here. I love it. We love it here because it has everything. A city life, an outdoor life, the ocean. Really, there's no place on earth as a big city that has all those components.
Oh my gosh, I took my boys on that Alaskan cruise. I've done it. I think it's the only cruise I've done back to back. I've done it twice, and you just ride the coast all the way up that rainforest. I mean, it's just the most gorgeous area. I think I first saw it when I went up there 30 years ago to visit a friend of mine, Imtiaz Manji, who lived up there. And I remember going in there the first time and thinking, holy moly, this is neat. So meet the two sisters. One is a dental hygienist, that's on your left, and the other one on her right is her little sister. Together they create educational solutions for those who need to take the board exam. When they're not working, you can find them traveling and practicing yoga. Claire Jeong is an entrepreneur who is striving to promote educational efficiency. Efficacy. Is that efficacy, right?
Yes.
She founded StudentRDH and StudentCDA, which offer... Is StudentCDA, is that CDA for Canadian Dental Association or California Dental Association?
It's for Certified Dental Assistants.
Oh, okay, Certified Dental Assistants.
Yes.
Which offer review courses for board examinations for dental hygiene students and dental assistant students. The online platform provides study notes, practice questions, and time-mocked exams through the latest e-learning technology. In less than 2 years, StudentRDH has become one of the top solutions and is helping make studying, as some users say, addicting. Jeong has a business degree in administration from Yonsei University, a master's degree in administration from Boston, and a dental hygiene degree from Forsyth School of Dental Hygiene in Boston. Prior to her career in the dental field, Claire Jeong was an educational specialist at the National Museum of Art in Korea and at Boston Children's Museum. Claire is licensed to practice in the U.S. as well as Canada. Claire grew up in France and Korea and now splits her time between the United States and Canada. She is deeply influenced by her parents. Her mother has a PhD in linguistics and artificial intelligence. Her father is a renowned professor of architecture. From a young age, Claire's parents encourage her to exercise her own brain power and find solutions that can make positive impacts on society. The Jeong family often enjoys lively discussions about society and educational systems. Claire is the active CEO of StudentRDH. She also writes articles for the RDH magazine and speaks in schools and dental conferences about topics related to achieving success when it comes to examinations. She is also an advocate for various memory techniques that facilitate studying and help in everyday life. She has published a free ebook on this topic, and it can be found at wakeupmemory.com. Claire now surrounds herself with other high-tech entrepreneurs and is active in the startup community. StudentRDH and StudentCDA are only the tip of the iceberg. Stay tuned because Claire Jeong is headed for many exciting ventures ahead.
Thank you.
And now let's meet her baby sister, who was born in Paris. Dr. Jeong spent her early childhood in France and her adolescence in South Korea. Dr. Jeong then received her bachelor's degree in health sciences from Purdue University and her DMD degree from Boston University School of Dental Medicine. Dr. Jeong currently practices in Edmonton, California, and she is licensed to practice in both the U.S. and Canada. Having experienced the various lifestyles of different countries, Dr. Jeong understands the importance of cultural literacy that she applies when treating patients and creating educational solutions. Dr. Jeong is the co-founder of StudentRDH and StudentCDA along with her sister. She also enjoys creating quality content for the dental community. She co-authors articles for RDH magazine. In addition, Dr. Jeong is deeply interested in dentistry for special needs and is currently preparing CE courses on many different topics. Special needs is a dear to me too. I have 5 sisters, and one of them, the one just younger than me. My 2 oldest ones are Catholic nuns, then me, and then I have a special needs sisters, and then I have 2 sisters married with 3 kids each. But so how are you ladies doing today?
Very good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Howard.
Oh, good to see you, man. It's just exciting, all the stuff you're doing. I mean, you know, it's funny. If you go to the United States, if you go to the budget, of all 50 states, the number one expenditure in all 50 states, which is almost half of revenue, goes to education. And then anytime I read something about education, it's like the current education model doesn't really adopt any research. Like I've read things like young kids that are 10 years old, they don't even their brain doesn't even remember stuff till like 10 o'clock in the morning because they wake up slow. I've heard that they cannot listen and take in what you're saying longer than 15 minutes at a time.
Exactly.
And you read everything that you read, and you just look at your school systems like, gosh, how come I'm a dentist and I know this stuff, and you spend half the money in the state, and you can't? What do you think of the U.S. education system, and compare it to ones around the world? Because you've seen, you lived in France, you lived in Korea, that you've lived in 3, now Canada, so you've lived in 4 of the top 20 most productive countries in the world. So give us your review of education.
Right. I mean, you are very correct that the education system has not changed. If you look back in the days, 2,000 years ago, even 100 years ago, it was lectures. A person stands, the lecturer stands here, you have 100 students, 50 students, 20 students, and the person lectures. You read the textbook, you also sit to the lecture, you go through an exam. The system has not changed at all while everything has evolved around us. So we really think what happened is that education has never been able to catch up to other amazing things that are happening right now with things that are available to us, such as technology. So, for example, my sister Jeong has looked at the education system in many European countries.
Especially Finland. So we hear a lot about Finland education system, which is really more focused on mastery of the topic rather than the scores and the grades you get in school and how quickly you graduate from the school. So it's really about focusing on the individual ability to retain information and move on to the next chapter, next level of information. So that's what we think. That's what we think is very important. But in most other countries, we're still focusing on the good grades and graduating early, and things like that. So.
And on time. And if you also think about how our classes are structured, as we talk, you just take a test every 3 weeks, every month, midterm, final term. What happens is that when you learn, there are so many gaps, there's so many holes in your knowledge. You keep going. Okay, you get your test, you get a pass or fail. It doesn't matter what happened to you, we keep going. You have more and more holes. So if you take the analogy and think about construction. Say you build the first floor, you bring someone to inspect. The person says the water is leaking, the foundation is not solid enough, doesn't matter, you keep going. Build second floor, same happens. You bring in an inspector, the inspector say this is wrong, but you keep going. What happens is everything crumbles at the end. The same with education system. If we cannot as educators fill in those holes for the students, we will never be able to really provide a foundation for them to keep building on top. So we've seen that in our Korean education system when I was there younger. France is a little different. They are very philosophical. They debate a lot, so it's a lot less about the grades, but more about the process of your thinking, which is a good thing. And we are a big fan of the European education, French education system as well. But here in North America, we see just, again, the standardized lecture, task, pass, fail, and just move on. And hopefully maybe with CE courses or some other things, you can fill in those gaps.
But I've lectured in 50 countries, and the only when I'm in America, they always tell me we're number one. So this can't be true because every American tells me we're number one.
I think America did a good job branding their universities. They have the top universities in the world. Harvard, MIT in technology, and that's why everybody wants to come here and learn. But yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I think America is really only number one in self-esteem. They they have more confidence and less to show for it than so many countries. But you see this. I remember when I was a freshman in college, and you'd be up there in the dorm room, 88 guys on each floor at Creighton University, and some guy would be asking you for help on calculus, and you'd start going through it, and you'd realize, well, he didn't learn some of this stuff. Some of this more fundamental stuff. It's like you're studying out calculus, and there's so many holes in your mathematical knowledge. And you're right. So he might have got a C or a B, passed the test, but didn't learn 3 or 4 critical things. And now he's on to the next level of math and geometry and calculus and trig, and it's not going to work.
So also, Sakhan, who is one of my idol out there, Sakhan, who founded Khan Academy, he talks about this as well, the concept of mastery, how you cannot build on just weak foundation. And I think that ties back into how our education system is built, how our lectures are built. Then we can start thinking about what do we like to see. And that the answer to us is more self-directed studies, because we don't need to read the textbook and sit in a lecture and have someone repeat the same thing we read in the textbook. Usually when you go to a lecture, we ask them to hold off the question until the very end, because we don't really have time in an hour or 2 hours. And sometimes students never have a chance to really ask questions either. So again, there are so many holes. What if the students can learn by self-directed study, pre-recorded things? That's very easy to do nowadays. You teach everywhere all the time too, Howard. You can do that. I can do that. And also the student can all sit in a classroom. That is fine. But everybody studies at a different place. And the instructor is not someone who lectures, but more a mentor that goes around and help everybody fill in those gaps. Some students might finish the entire chapter in 20 minutes. That is fine. Let them go. Some students need 5 hours. So you just provide the mentorship to those students. That's how we see a better type of education system. Mm-hmm.
And what about the length of time? I mean, we have muscles, the organs, livers, kidneys. The brain, at the end of the day, is just a 3.5 pound physical organ. How long do you think it can take in information and process and store it before it's just the chemicals, the dopamine, the serotonin, everything's just flooded out and you're wasting your time?
Right. So, there are many, many studies out there now about the brain. One of the studies says your brain cannot focus for more than 6 minutes anymore.
Wow.
Can you believe that? And that ties back to...
By the way, what are we even talking about? What are we doing? Where am I? It's
been like 20 minutes.
It's been more than 6 minutes, and I don't even know why I'm sitting here. No, I'm just kidding. But so 6 minutes is all the brain can handle.
Right. So if you think about, football games, baseball games, really anything on TV nowadays, you see commercials every 10, 15 minutes, or even less, like 5 minutes, depending on what we're watching. So our brains are really, now it's more trained to focus even less and less. So even when we're trying to study, we have our phones with us, and somebody send us text message, okay, 2 minutes, and then you get distracted and you try to go back to what you were doing, and then you get another text message, you get distracted again. So this is how our brain is trained nowadays.
And things have changed. I mean, we believe that people have been able to focus much longer before. Mm-hmm. But again, we have to adapt. So I lecture a lot. I consider myself an educator. It's actually sometimes I feel cruel to have the students sit 1 or 2 hours in the lecture when actually our entire society is built with those like small size focus.
When I was your age, which you two are young enough to be my children, the number one cause of car mortality was alcohol. And now where I live in Phoenix, Arizona, that doesn't even make the top 5. And the top 5 are all distraction. Yeah. I mean, they're driving down the street and they're getting a ding on their cell phone and making a Facebook post and plowing into people.
Exactly.
So that shows, yes, the brain cannot function with 2 things at the same time. And actually listen to a book that's called Scrum. It's about being more efficient in everything you do. And in there, they talk about driving studies as well. And they say right now, even though people are using their hands held, I think the Bluetooth, even that, even if you don't have your phone here, right here in your ear, I mean, on your hand, even that is such a big distraction.
Yeah, I agree because look at your, I'm 54. I mean, sometimes when people are approaching their destination and they're not sure where it is, one of the first things you said them to do is turn off the radio. So you see them realizing their own limitations. I can't be listening to this song and trying to find where we're going. So what is student RDH and why is it different, and how did this become your brainchild, your baby? Where did this come from?
Okay, let me start from the top. It started because I went to dental hygiene school after doing a lot of things. When I graduated dental hygiene school, I wanted to study for my examination. There was nothing out there that I thought was worth my money, time, and effort. And I was upset about all the money that I have spent. So I looked at my sister. She was a dental school student. She just graduated. And we just decided to create our own because there was no solution.
Nice.
So we looked at the problem. We did a lot of focus study with students who had graduated, who had encountered the same problem, asked them very specific questions about what do you not like about the other review course? Start compiling data and try to really assess those points. So whatever we make was better than everything that existed before, because we really want it to be a solution, not just another dental hygiene board's review.
So if my homies go to StudentRDH.com, what are they going to find? I'm there now on my iPhone.
Perfect. You will see 3 courses. One is the national boards. One is CSCE, which is the East Coast examination. One is the local anesthesia examination. So we built all those 3 courses. For example, in national boards, you get in there, there's 17 chapters. For example, oral pathology, periodontology, dental hygiene, process of care. Those are all things you have to know for the national boards. If you go into each chapter, for example, oral pathology, it's divided into 3 sessions, which is the study notes, everything you have to know in bullet points and small topics, questions, practice questions, because you want to just make sure you're reviewing your knowledge, and also a real mock exam that has the same amount of time as the national examination, because that's really sealing the deal. You want to understand how fast or slow you're going. You want to see the 4 types that you are going to see in the real examination before actually getting there, because a lot of time it is the frustration of I don't know what to expect in the examination. So we build that so they are really prepared, and we have seen great success. On top of that, we use the latest e-learning technology to deliver this content.
So it tracks the data and it shows your progress. So for example, if you've finished one chapter, which is broken down into very small chunks. So when you feel that you know this chapter really well, then you click on the tab that says, I know this. And then it'll show on your progress track that you completed that section. And some of the chapters that you're unsure about, you just leave it. And when you look at your self-assessment tool, where it shows all your progress checks for different chapters, then you go back to those certain ones where you didn't mark off. You go back to those to review. And once you're confident that you know this material, then you click on I know this. That way you know exactly which ones to go back to if you're not prepared for certain chapters.
And it's like almost like a Fitbit. Have you used a Fitbit before, Howard?
Look at my body. You think I'd done a Fitbit?
Maybe Ryan has.
I actually have a Waffle House chip loaded in my brain. I have a Garmin. I was born and raised in Kansas, and the number 1 brand out of Kansas is the Garmin.
Okay.
And, I'm still not sold on which Fitbit to get, but anyway. But what were you going to say about the Fitbit?
I would just say that it's like the Garmin or the Fitbit, where it really tracks your progress, so you know how many steps you did today, how many hours you spent. So you really are understanding yourself better, because the first step is knowing yourself. Whether it's fitness, whether it's studying, anything you do, you have to understand yourself.
Yeah, go ahead.
Important thing is that, well, I remember when I was studying for dental boards or things like that, we have this textbook and all the lecture notes, and it is really overwhelming because it's a lot of information. But with this learning tool, so we broke down all the chapters into small pieces where your brain can actually digest within a short amount of time. So it's not overwhelming. It's very concise, and a lot of users said it's very addictive because it's not overwhelming, and you just small chunks at a time.
And I think that goes back to what we're talking about. The human brain now can only focus for 6 minutes. So we are trying to utilize those data tied back into the review course because we want the students to be the most efficient with their time, money, and effort. So that's why I feel like students, after they are done, they email us voluntarily saying, this has been awesome. I love it. I will tell all my friends. I was procrastinating, and I really want to think that this is addictive. And I think that word studying being addictive is to us personally, a big compliment, because if we can make studying something fun to do, I think we really have achieved our goal in education.
And you started with StudentRDH, and then you did StudentCDA for dental assistants. Do you think you'll do StudentDDS one day?
So we thought about it, but it is a lot of information for dentistry. So, we're in the process of preparing things and kind of brainstorming and thinking about it. But yeah.
Right now, we focus on 2 other things because, as she said, the amount of content that has to be built, because what we're trying to do is not just questions and answers. There's a lot of tools out there that do quick questions and answers on your phone. But we're really building everything, study guide, like the real stuff, questions in mock exam. So that takes a lot more time than just like 1,000 questions and answers.
And it's not just a board exam, a review course where we just give you the information. Okay, memorize all this. It's very customized. So really putting students into consideration how much they can digest and how could they study better.
Well, I vote that you do it. And if there's any way that I can help you do that, because one of the things I'm thinking of is when I think of StudentRDH course, I'm a dentist who has several hygienists work for me, and I notice that people always ask when you say, do you have a question, they don't usually ask the doctor. They ask the dental assistant when you leave the room. They ask after the hygiene exam, they ask all their questions to the hygienist. The receptionist actually answers the most questions in a dental office. And if you're using technology to make them learn complex dentistry faster, easier, more simple, then this should be a tool for anybody talking to a patient, whether you're the admin up front, the dental assistant, the dental hygienist. I mean, I just can't see. They just did a study. The American Dental Association just did a study on Americans who have not gone to the dentist in the last year. 40% said it was cost. That was obvious. But what was really bizarre is 33% had no understanding that they had anything wrong, and that goes back to the communication, the treatment plan presentation.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of data that it takes 3 strangers to call a dental office that have never been a patient for one to even make an appointment. So just think if that who's ever answering the phone, just think if they were educated faster, more efficiently, more productively.
And I feel the same as well, seeing a lot of dental office. And also, actually, I had the same request very recently from another friend who's appeared on this. She said, if you can develop something that can train more people in the dental office, it would make everybody so happy.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. I mean, if you take it from the patient's point of view, the way the healthcare talks to a patient. I mean, even me being a dentist, going in with family to the doctor, myself as a doctor. I mean, I'm sometimes blown away, like when you're talking to just like your dermatologist or something, like, hello, Earth. I'm a dentist. I'm not a dermatologist. I have no idea what you're saying. And it's like, God, if I'm a dentist, I don't understand what she's saying. Imagine someone who's, an electrical engineer or a plumber. I mean, it's just crazy. So, so how long has this been out?
A little less than 2 years right now. I mean, the process of building it took another year, but it's been out for about a year and a half.
And are you having success?
Yes, actually even much faster than we actually predicted.
Nice.
The great thing is the students love it. So then they hook us back into the school saying, you should talk to my program director. Then that one student becomes 30 students. And we've been seeing really a lot of organic growth. And we really trying to, I think the other thing we do is that when the student purchases it, we send them a lot of email as support. They know exactly who are behind the scenes, which is me mainly responding to everything, but my sister as well. And we consult each other on how to respond to students. So it's not like, oh, I buy this course or I buy this book and let me just study, but I don't know who to talk to. They know exactly who to talk to, and they actually know exactly who to blame if something goes wrong at the same time. So I think they really like this personalized service. A lot of students actually don't even need that. They want to just study on their own, but if they need help, I am there. I do Skype calls. It's included in your price. It's not an extra charge or anything. I just want them to be successful.
Man. Amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So explain memory techniques, and why can't we incorporate more memory techniques in the educational system?
Yes, we love this topic about memory. I think this came originally from our mother, as described. She has a PhD in artificial intelligence. So since a young age, we have been fed a lot of information, research from her about how to improve your memory. She didn't force it on us, but it was so interesting that we had to read it. Mm-hmm. And we actually incorporated it into our own, studying, because we went from France to Korea, actually not even really speaking Korean. We went to Korea and we did really well. Sorry, no, not to brag, but
but then we came to the States, so there was a lot of memorization and different information, different languages. So we were able to use that memory technique into our daily basis life. So
basically, your mother has a PhD in artificial intelligence, so she's helping to design the robots that will take us over and make us all slaves to the machines. Did you not see the movie The Matrix?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why is your mother?
Favorite movie.
The Matrix is your favorite movie?
Yeah.
So someday will my great-grandchildren be slaves to your mother's artificial intelligence robot machine?
Well, I think the goal is to be the opposite, to give the computer a brain. But again, we are the humans giving them a brain. So we have to be very careful about how we do that. And, we've seen a lot of progress now. AI is everywhere. Mechanical learning, that's a hot topic in the startup right now. Everybody wants mechanical learning. LinkedIn is using it already. A lot of tools out there. It's going to evolve more and more, but we can only hope that it's going to the right direction.
No, it won't. It'll all go south, and we'll be living in the Matrix.
Right.
Yeah.
Would you like to do, Howard, a question and answer to understand how the memory technique works, and we can explain further?
I would love that.
We are going to start with one question, actually.
Okay.
Is that okay? Are
Absolutely.
you ready?
I'm ready.
You're ready.
Okay, so I'm going to read the question. Which nerve supplies the muscles of facial expression? A, 5th, B, 7, C, 9, D, 11.
Well, I was trained in Catholic school, so I'm going with all the above.
That is not part of the question.
He's being creative right now.
Okay, so the answer is facial expression. 7. Cranial nerve 7.
So here, this is how the memory technique works in a very, very small scale. How are you going to memorize this? Because you're going to see in your exam, dental hygiene examination, dental examination. Can you see the F in facial?
Yes.
Or actually the 7, number 7. Flip that. What is it? An F. Number 7 becomes an F when you flip it like a pancake. So now you know number 7 gives you motor for facial expressions. That's how it works. So here are the techniques that we would like to talk about today and hopefully help the students understand how to be more efficient in their learning. So the first There are two rules actually in this memory techniques. The first rule is called substitution. You substitute something with something that you know already. For example, you substituted number 7 to an F. That's substitution. And then you have to connect. So connect or linking is the second rule. You connect that F with facial, something you know already, because there's nothing in this world that does not sound or look like something you already know. And the same applies to everything you do, whether they're languages, new words that you learn in dentistry, you can apply to anything.
You know, what's funny is going all the way back to dental school. I mean, I graduated 29 years ago, and I still remember the 12 cranial nerves just because I remember the mnemonic device, to touch and feel.
Yes.
Exactly. That's what we're focusing on.
So the great thing is that we actually know how to do that because you've done it, Howard, and you still remember that part. So then let's quickly talk about the brain, how it works. Whenever you bring some new information, there's something called the short-term memory. Short-term memory also is called the working memory. You just dump everything in there. But then you have that what's called the long-term memory in the back. When the long-term memory is active, you will be able to recall anything, just like the 12 cranial nerve that you just described. You bring it back out. And I don't know if you can see this quick drawing that I did.
Yes.
For short term, L for long term. So this is at the bottom, you see a pile of stuff. This is the short term memory. If you don't pay attention, it's just going to pile up. You will never find what you want to find. You want to bring this to the long term memory here and put them in nice little compartments. A lot of books describe this as the library. I call this the closet. Say you bought a lot of new clothes. I don't know if you like shopping, Howard.
No.
Someone does.
Someone in your family does.
They buy a lot of things. And say you didn't pay attention, just pile it up, and up. It's going to be useless. What you want to do is take it out, observe it, and put it nicely in the shirt area, the shoe area where you want to have it. So when you go back to that closet, you know exactly where to find it. So this is actually the function of the brain just really in general. There's still many, many more studies to come about the brain that we still don't know. And so everything we want to store in the long-term memory. The long-term memory will not get activated unless you use those two rules, substituting and connecting. You want to build a strong connection between the short-term memory and the long-term memory so it doesn't get lost. So just like we did with facial nerve number 7, you connect those two together, that when you go to examination, you will be able to find it again.
Okay, what about when I'm doing a patient examination? How could I remember the patient's name?
Yeah, good question.
That's one thing we're going to talk about. I think you should continue on with that.
Okay, so let me continue. Same principle. You are going to examine the patient's face first. That's number 1. And we're actually good at it because we are dental professionals. You look at their mouth all the time. From there, you are going to find something specific about the person. You're going to find something specific about their name and connect them together. Let's say, for example, Steve. Steve, for me, reminds me of steam. Like steam coming out of the kettle, things like that. Steam. Then I use something in that person's face that reminds me of steam. For example, that person has bigger ears. Can you imagine steam coming out of their ear? Just do it once for 1 second, and it's going to stick in your brain. You find something in their personal appearance. It can also be their personality, but something that is a little different. And that way you can memorize so many more names.
I wonder why so many people come up to me on the street and think I'm Brad Pitt. How do you think they did the memory thing?
Brad Pitt?
Yeah, they look at me and they say, are you Brad Pitt? And I say, no. So they've obviously memorized it wrong. They somehow associated my face wrong.
I mean, maybe you
that would be a good thing.
you have this great personality, so
maybe they link that.
Oh, you have 5 children. Don't you have 5 children?
I have 4 children, Eric, Greg, Ryan, Zach. They're all 4 letters long. They're 27, 25, 23, 21. And the oldest one made me a little granddaughter, little 4-year-old Taylor Marie.
Awesome,
Nice.
awesome.
That was my reward for not killing all 4 of my boys.
A little girl. That is awesome. But yeah, so whenever you see a patient, we want you to just utilize this technique. You know, you go to a lot of social events probably. How are you going to memorize the audience? You know, this is not magic. Anybody can do that. And actually, let me prove this by just saying, like, his name is Joshua Foer. He is a journalist. He's just a journalist who did a bunch of study about memory champions, because there's some memory competition out there that shows how great your memory is by recalling 500 numbers, 3 decks of cards within 3 minutes or things like that. So he actually trained as a person with a very normal IQ and normal lifestyle, a few hours per day. And you know what? He won the memory championship. Anybody can do this, and I love Joshua Foer. I never met him. I just read his book 3 times. I hope I see him someday, because whatever he wrote as a normal person really speaks to us as a general audience, to our students, you know, as just everybody else, that things we can train ourselves to do that. You know, when we look at you, Howard, we have to find a way to memorize your name.
All right, let's hear it.
The more ridiculous it is, the better it'll stick to your brain. So,
all right, let's hear your most ridiculous memory of Howard.
It's very personal. It has to be ridiculous, okay?
Okay.
so don't be offended.
Don't be
I've never been
offended,
offended.
okay? For example, okay, Howard to me sounds like coward, okay? So, you know, once you start using this process, you will have something with every single name. Okay, coward. Then your last name is Farran, right? I think of Farran, like the very end of the hallway. And your first name is Coward. And you have a nice bald head right here, right?
Right.
And I can just imagine this nice area being like the hallway, like the empty hallway. So cowards run to that end of the hallway really quickly. Just so I associated that name with something characteristic about your face.
Nice.
Sometimes it doesn't make sense. You know, it can be personal as well. You have a neighbor.
I really don't have a need to memorize people's names when I go to social events, because every time I go to a social event, before someone talks, I always stand up and say, "Hi, I'm John. I've been an alcoholic so I learn their name." Oh, I'm just kidding. So how's your ebook coming along? Wake Up Memory, available at wakeupmemory.com. How's that going?
It's okay. So it's www.wakeupmemory.com. We have a landing page so far. So the audience can enter their email address and you can get a copy of the ebook. And there's 6 chapters available. And it's an overview of the memory technique we're talking about. So it's something we can use on a daily basis with name.
How much does it cost?
Doesn't cost anything.
Nothing. So Ryan, why don't you can you push that out? I'll push that out to a million people right now.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
We actually did that just for the podcast. Thinking that if we're going to talk about memory techniques, we better put it in writing and help others really read it, and we repurpose it for the dental field, you know, because you have a million other memory books out there. But I was trying to think, how can we utilize it in the dental office? How can you utilize it in studying? So for example, if you think about drug names, Crestor, for example, Crestor, what is it used for?
Cholesterol.
Cholesterol, you're good. You are good. Very good. So for example, if we just take again the substitution and the connect technique, Crestor, I think about it as a crest for cream, store as a store. So it's a store full of cream. And obviously that's not a good thing. That could raise your cholesterol. So Crestor is used for cholesterol. So those are the techniques, again, that we talk about in the book very briefly to really just give you an overview of how this can work. We also put a chapter about how to memorize numbers and weekly appointments. And that's a little difficult to say during the podcast because there actually is a system. That's why if you read it, you'll probably understand really quickly.
Did you post this ebook on Dental Town and Hygiene Town?
Not yet.
There's a 250,000 dentists on Dental Town, and we started that in 1998. Probably you weren't even born yet, and then we came out with the app when they came out with the iPhone, and the app now has 50,000. So there's Dental Town and Hygiene Town. Everybody listening to you right now is driving to work. Can you will you post it somewhere?
Yes, we will put it on Dental Town, Hygiene Town for sure. And, whatever else we can do, we will help get the word out there. If not, you can always go to wakeupmemory.com.
Yeah, there's 50 categories. I'm trying to think. There's dental students, maybe dental students, or I don't know, wherever you think. But whenever you make a post, there's a forward button. So you can make the post and you can forward it to me at howard@dentaltown.com. But I'll push it out also on my Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and Pinterest and Instagram and all those other goody things.
Well, if we may continue on this topic of memory techniques just because we love it and we really think that this helps tons of people, students especially out there, why don't we do another question about the muscles of mastications?
Okay.
All right, so which one is not a muscle of mastication? A, masseter. B, medial pterygoid. C, temporalis. D, lateral pterygoid. E, buccinator.
That would be E, buccinator.
Perfect. You are good. So the four muscles of mastication are masseter, medial pterygoid, temporalis, and lateral pterygoid. Those work together for you to just chew everything. How do you remember this? This is what I tell my students, and this is what we try to incorporate in StudentRDH in our blog or the teaching that we do into the questions and answers we have on the website, is that think about MMTL. Just like the 12th cranial nerve, you do MMTL, but you can't just stop there. You have to make something out of this MMTL. What if you say, Mom makes tasty lasagna? I don't know if your mom made a good lasagna, but just imagine this amazing lasagna from your mom that comes out of the oven. Again, memory tricks, you have to make it really real. You have to feel it like a 3D movie. You feel it in your heart, this warm lasagna. Mom makes tasty lasagna, 4 muscles of mastications. And actually have students email me saying, actually, I have seen on this exam, and this helped me so much. So we can keep going on some questions that we have prepared.
And I remember seeing mnemonics like that when I was studying for the boards, or certain boards material will do that. But the idea is that we can apply this into everything: drug name, whether that's muscles or person's names, appointment times, and things like that. So I remember when I was studying for boards, when they give you an example of these mnemonics, I remember those. But other ones, some of them I didn't make the mnemonics or that substitution and connect rule. I didn't use that. So I wasn't able to remember those. So the idea is, you can use it on anything, any information.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised lived in France and Korea, and you picked the word lasagna. I was thinking it would be a French dish or a Korean dish. Now I want you to go back with MMTL and turn it into either a French dish that you ate in Paris or a Korean dish that you ate in Seoul.
But, we have to really to our own audience, because we don't make this for ourselves. We make this for our audience. So, if lasagna is a good selling product in the United States and North America, that's what we say.
Oh, another thing I want to mention is it's not just, you can't just say, oh, Mom makes lasagna and try to remember. You have to visualize it and try to use all parts of your brain. So senses, all 5 senses. So hearing.
I want to ask you a question on that with my 4 boys. When I was little, I went to Catholic school. nobody read enough. And all of society, parents, schools is trying to get you to read more. And I'm looking back at those days. I read 1,000 books, but you're sitting in a chair with black and white text. And now I see kids, and you don't have to prompt them to say go read or whatever, and they're just watching YouTube videos and on history. And I mean the quality of information that I see my boys listening to. I mean, they're listening to all kinds of lectures. So do you think they'll remember it better by watching it on YouTube as opposed to reading a black and white text book with no pictures?
For sure, for sure. I mean, it goes back to how the brain works. If you use different parts of your brain, which is senses, so hearing, visual, touch if you can. If you think about a video, it gives you more than just text. So it activates the brain in many different areas. And sometimes if you cannot recall with the sound, you can still recall with the visual. So you are trying to just store it in a much better way. And actually one study that actually my mom did on me is that when I was younger, she put me in an MRI. I was part of a study. She put in an MRI. The point for them is to understand how people utilize their brain in languages. So they give me a bunch of just words right here inside the MRI about Korean, French, and English, just like keep repeating, and they would just monitor my brain. And one of the things that they found is that there's this part of the brain that is related to actually motion, moving, sports was activated in my brain. How she what she gets out of that is that when we activate our brain, like we are actually working, walking, actually doing something physical, not just reading it, you memorize it a lot better.
So have you ever thought about finding a good New York attorney to sue your mother for money since she did that when you were a minor? You might be able to make millions of dollars by suing your own mom. I'm sure that you could find 1 million attorneys in the United States that would help you do that.
Especially New York City.
Oh my God. If you can fake it, you can sue it. Yeah, that is amazing. It's sad because you always know what you know, but you don't know what you don't know. And you look back 500 years, you think they lived their entire existence and didn't know so many concepts. And I'm always jealous of the people that will be born 500 years from now, just thinking all the cool stuff they will know that we have no idea what about right now.
And I mean, it is definitely evolving, but honestly, just like we talked about in the beginning, education is not really evolving at the pace that we want to see. Still this old classroom structure. Sometimes, hopefully it'll change.
We'll see a change.
Well, and it's sad because the people, not to get into politics, I don't like to talk about religion, sex, politics, violence, but it's funny because the liberal part of our society in America, who's all pro-education, also tend to be the most pro-labor union. So they, the teachers are tenured, they can't be fired, they're all part of a union. And I don't even think the education system in America is about education. I think it's a jobs programs for teachers. The people who pay taxes, they just retire with Social Security, but you notice all the teachers, they'll get Social Security and a pension. And the same thing with the auto industry. The auto industry, it's all about the labor unions, the Teamsters, all the AFL-CIO. When I look at the hottest industries in America, there's no unions. I mean, when I look at Microsoft and Intel, and when I look at high tech, there's very fluid labor markets. They can hire and fire, and I look at government, if they could just get away from all that union mentality, and be able to fire the old school to start the new school.
Right. So there's actually a video right now on YouTube that's really hot. That's by Prince EA. So you can just search it, Prince EA. And he made a funny video. A really nice video about he is suing the education system. And he's talking exactly about the same thing, that things have not changed when they should have changed. And it's just going viral right now on YouTube. And I completely support the same message. And I think we all do, as educators.
Is that on your Twitter feed right now today, at StudentRDH?
Not today. I think I shared it a little earlier, like a week ago, but I can share it today again because I love the message. And that guy did an amazing job on that. I will share that again today.
Yeah, share it again. I just retweeted one of your Twitters.
Sure.
So, yeah. So, can you email me that video? Yeah. So, share that, tweet that out again today, and I'll give it a retweet
Perfect.
to my homies on Twitter.
Your homies.
Yeah.
I listen to you. I love when you say that, Maho homies.
Well, you know, it's a tribal thing. I mean, I am a dentist. I mean, you know, I get how they think because I'm one of them, and everything that the craziest stuff they do, I do. I mean, you know, because I got the same disease. I mean, even when you retire from dentistry, you're still a dentist. You know, I mean, like today, if I had a choice between going to the office and pulling 4 wisdom teeth that were massively impacted, or go play golf, I'd much rather pull the wisdom teeth. I mean, golf is just
That means you love what you do.
yeah, and if you love what you do, you'll never have to work another day in your life.
Perfect. Yeah, no, we believe the same. Okay, we want to talk about one more thing, which is all related to efficiency. So we're big fans of making your life more efficient, your studying especially more efficient. We want to talk about the Pomodoro technique. Have you heard about that?
No.
So I call it the tomato technique because Pomodoro means a tomato. It is 25-minute intervals of high focus, 5 minutes of break. The system works because in those 25 minutes, it's like a sprint. Your cortisol level goes up, which is the good stress, you know, like not the continuous stress, but the good stress that makes you high focused. But during that time, you have to promise us that you will not look at your phone, that you will not talk to your friend, you will focus on the task you are doing. If that is, for example, us like writing back to emails to our customers, we are not going to be distracted by looking at another website or clicking on something else or answering a phone call. We will focus, and then at that 5-minute break, then we can do other things. Because every time you switch your brain from A to B, it takes a long time to get there. And that's why it goes back to the studying of cars and talking on the phone at the same time. You cannot do 2 things at the same time. So we love this Pomodoro technique. When you focus very intensively, you take a break. Hopefully you do some push-ups because doing physical activity really pumps the brain. Mm-hmm. And then you go back to the sprint of 25 minutes. This is called the Pomodoro technique. We haven't invented it. This has been existing for so many years. Many success stories out there in the entire world. And I'm trying to tell all my students who subscribe with StudentRDH and StudentCDA to use that technique.
Mm-hmm. And how do you spell it?
Pomodoro. So Pomodoro.
Huh. Pomodoro technique.
Mm-hmm. You can Google it. You'll find it everywhere. They even ask for Pomodoro technique that you can put on your phone or your computer that's going to work as a timer for you. So if I may talk a little bit more than how it works. For example, you say today, I'm going to study oral pathology. Each Pomodoro, you write a little tomato next to the task you want to do, and you put tomatoes however many you think you need to achieve that task. If you say 2 hours of oral pathology, you put 4 tomatoes. Does that make sense? And whenever you're done with that 25-minute sprint, you circle it, or you just, you figure out how to wait just to color it in red, whatever you can do. Take 5-minute break, do the next step, another 25 minutes. The purpose of this is for you to keep tracking what you are doing, because sometimes we feel like we have done a lot. Like, I'm exhausted. I studied so much. Have you actually studied? Look at your tomatoes. Have you colored them? Is it just a feeling, or are you actually productive? And also this give anybody, if you keep doing it, a good sense of how many hours it's going to take you to perform a task. For example, now I know I can do all my emails within 30 minutes per day. No more 2-3 hours of email, because I know I can focus, and I know now that it takes me only 30 minutes. So it's a lot of practice, but once you have mastered it, I think your day, you have much more time to exercise, to go see your friends, to do other things.
Mm-hmm. Which also connects to the habit, building a morning ritual or habits that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah. We love efficiency techniques. So yeah, morning rituals. So when you wake up, do you have a ritual, Howard?
Yes.
Ooh, tell us about that.
What I did is I'm 54. So when I turned 50, I like to work from the biggest problem when you wake up to the smallest one at the end of the day, because that way, I always think, if you could only get one thing done, what would be the most important thing to get done? So when you're 50, it's got to be health. So I hired two personal trainers, and they alternate. And 5 o'clock in the morning, they knock on my door, every morning, and they take this old fat grandpa out for a couple hours. And so that's my morning ritual. I figured that's the most important thing.
Very nice.
Okay, so
I know you two like yoga, right?
Yeah, we love yoga.
And that's my of everything I do, that's the favorite. In fact, that's why I don't really want to do Ironman anymore. I did Ironman when I'm 50, 51, 52, 53, whatever. And the bike, swim, and run doesn't make me feel nearly as good as 90 minutes of Bikram yoga. It's just I don't know if it's my body, I don't know if it's the sweating, I don't know what it is, but nothing makes me feel better than 90 minutes of Bikram yoga, and nothing scares me more than when I'm biking on these streets in Phoenix, Arizona. And I mean, I've already had 3 of my biking friends get killed since I've been biking for 3 years. So now when I go on a 50-mile bike ride, I actually bike past 3 areas, crucifixes. One has his bicycle out there, and I'm just sitting there thinking, why am I doing this? So how often do you guys do yoga?
Well, I mean, we love yoga. Just like wherever we travel, actually, we find a place to do yoga. That's also a way to understand the city, the culture. And if we travel to European countries, or anywhere else, we found a yoga studio, talk to people, because as you know, every yoga studio has a different vibe, and there's something to get from there. And just like be able to focus, meditate, just brings, everything together.
Yeah. But as far as the morning ritual goes, for me, I started waking up half an hour earlier than I used to before work in the morning. So I do 15 minutes of meditation, 15 minutes of yoga, and then, drink some water, make my coffee, make breakfast, and head to work.
So the idea of morning ritual is like you actually do it every single day. You are just a habit machine, because once you're done with that, your body and mind is awake. It has a signal saying you are ready to go start your amazing day today. And how many days does it take to really build a habit?
So they say the science says it's 21 days, which is why you see a 21-day challenge at the gyms, fitness centers, or a 21-day diet and things like that. So it has to be consistent, and after 21 days, it can become your habit.
So, the key here is that to not have really heavy things as a habit. This habit are just light things, such as drinking water, such as stretching, very small chunks of tasks that you are going to repeat just to signal your body and mind that you are ready to go today.
And just like in the military, they love habits, right? So you wake up at, I'm not sure, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, and you do the same routine every single day, and that becomes almost brainless. You don't have to think about it. It's just a habit, and it gets you in the mood that you need to be in to start the day.
And the idea is to leave your brain work for other things, other important things that you have to do.
Nice. We are just creatures of habit, aren't we?
Yes, definitely. I mean, you can find tons of books out there that talks about habits.
It's amazing. If you want to change something big, change something small every day.
Yes, exactly.
And if you don't change anything small any day, you're never going to change anything big.
Perfect. Yes, exactly.
So even Pomodoro technique, everything can become a habit. And, in 21 days, next thing you know is everything's become a habit. You can remember names, drug names, and things like that very easily.
Credit card numbers. That's a useful one, actually. If you can do that.
Memorize credit card numbers?
Yeah. Your own credit card numbers.
Okay.
So you don't have to, you want to online shop, you have to pull out your wallet that's sitting in the living room, It saves you already time and effort right there. So you can see how the memory techniques really can improve our studying life and everyday life.
Nice. And that's and so they go to wakeupmemory.com is one of your examples how to memorize your credit card number?
Yes. So there are one chapter that talks specifically about numbers. You read it, you'll understand the technique, and you can apply it. And it's a fun thing to do with your children or, you know, with your friends.
Okay, so I'm gonna test you right now. I want you to give everyone your credit card number right now without looking at your profile.
Well, I can tell you the last 4 digits.
No, I want the whole number and your expiration date.
Yes.
Hey, can I ask you a very politically...
A million other listeners.
Can I ask you a very politically incorrect question?
Okay.
Remember a long time ago there was a book came out, Tiger Mom?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what did you think of that? Was your mom a tiger mom? I mean, she's doing MRIs on your brain when you're reading. Was she a really strict tiger mom? Talk about, do you remember that book?
I mean, I guess it sounds like our mom may have been a tiger mom based on what we say, but in reality, it's a complete opposite. So she really promoted, you know, creativity, really
anything we wanted to do.
Did you think that book was a hoax or crazy?
I mean, that's actually a good kind of stereotyping. I mean, there's stereotypes all over the world. They're in Asia, yes, there are a lot of tiger moms that put you a very strict schedule about you need to do this, and that, which we are, I mean, I guess we don't really love that because it's not really focused on the person, individual who has to perform those tasks. It's from the person. It's like being in a lecture all over again at school. Someone else telling you what to do. And at the end, that doesn't really work. The incentive has to come from the person that will perform the task. And our parents were the opposite of tiger parents.
You know, I've seen being one of the advantages of living 50, you know, over 50 years old. I've lived through 2 generations. It was amazing back when I was born and raised in Kansas, in Catholic school. You always heard Catholic moms and dads because, you know, there's no birth control. So there was huge families. I had 7 siblings. And parents would always say, you know, if you were talking or asked them a question, they'd say, you know, children should be seen, not heard. And it was just all these kids, and it's like, get out of there. And then with the advent of birth control and these much smaller families, you saw the parents bonding and a lot more of a loving, a nourishing relationship. Because I mean, imagine how stressed out you'd be if you had 7, 8 kids running around. I mean, I had one friend, I shouldn't say his name, Brian Hesse. He had 21 kids in his family. I mean, how could you even have a relationship with 21 different siblings? So yeah, so parenting has massively changed. I've seen parenting massively change in just the half century I've been on Earth.
But in our case, it was more, for the most part, our parents giving the information they have. They tell us, you know, this is the information that's out there, and whether you want to utilize it this way or another way, it's up to you. So they really gave us the independence to think and really promote creativity.
Yeah. I'm so proud of my boys. One of my boys just got Inmate of the Month award, and I'm going to put that on my back of my truck. Well, I always see people saying their kid was Student of the Month. My kid was Inmate of the Month. He was the best inmate in the entire prison for the entire month.
All right.
You're proud of your children. You said 4, right? 4 boys.
I have 4 boys, and they're all perfect.
Ooh,
wow.
How fun.
Yes. How about you guys? You guys have any kids yet, or?
No.
No, not yet.
We're focused on our work right now.
So are you both single with no kids?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're gonna be so rich. Oh my God, you won't be able to count your money. You won't even be able to count it. You'll have to stop doing memory techniques to get money counting techniques.
I mean, who knows what's gonna happen in the next couple of years, but yeah.
Well, hey, I want you to know that I contacted you. You didn't contact me. I think what you're doing is amazing. I had several people email me about you and say, get these people on your show. And I want you to know that going forward, you know, I got a magazine, website, whatever. But if there's anything I can ever do to help you you just let Uncle Howie know, because I think what you're doing is just amazing. And I'm always here to help you any way I can, 24/7.
Thank you. We would love the opportunity to just speak more about those kind of things that we believe in efficiency, studying, and everyday life. So we can have more time as dental professionals to take care of ourselves and to have some free brain work time for other hobbies that we want to do.
Or in my case, it'd just free up more time so I could squeeze in one more emergency toothache. And well, anything you see I'm doing that you think it could help your cause, let me know. Like I'm thinking out loud. We put up online CE. We put up 360 courses. They've been viewed 600,000 times. So I don't know, maybe you could post it. Also, we send out a daily email to I think it's 56,000 hygienists and 100,000 dentists, or just anything you see I'm doing, anything I can do to help you too. I'll let you know.
Thank you very much, Howard, for
So now you're both in Canada?
Right now we are, I go between Boston and Vancouver because I support both the Canadian exam and the exam in the United States. So I split my time.
Well, unfortunately, I only know one Canada joke. Do you know why Canadians, their favorite vacation is Bahamas?
Ooh.
Because it's spelled the same. Canada is C-A-N-A-D-A and Bahamas is B-A-H-A-M-A. It's the only one. It's the only one they remember how to spell.
Well,
Is that the dumbest joke you've ever heard?
Yes. That's new. I'll share with my Canadian friends.
Okay. All right. There you have it. Thank you so much for all that you do for dentistry, dental hygiene, dental assistants. Seriously, thank you. I'm so proud of you too. I hope you guys crush it.
Thank you very much, Howard.
Howard.
You are crushing it.